Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Crowd Chatter Podcast. Today is, well, guess what? Another video. You guessed it. And so this video, of course, is another Bubble Watch video. This one, though, is probably everybody's favorite series, and that is the work to do category. All the teams are kind of sitting right around, either right around the cut line or on the cut line. I'm sure this is everybody's favorite, the one that everybody likes to talk about, and this one is definitely going to see a lot of differences. There's going to be a lot of moving around and changing in this one. So let's get into it. So the ACC, a lot of changes here. North Carolina, we're bumping them ahead of Clemson as Clemson actually just lost to Louisville. Now, if you guys maybe haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to college basketball, but if you probably haven't noticed, Louisville is not in any of these categories. Want to know why that is? Because the Louisville Tigers, Louisville Cardinals, before that game, were 3-24, or 3-23. I'm sorry, 3-23. Yeah. They were a 3-win team before they beat Clemson. And they were a 1-win conference team. So that should tell you how bad of a loss that is. And I don't care if that's home or road. If you lose to Louisville, that's awful. And they lost to Louisville. So Clemson is, well, they're outside of the tournament right now. Solely because of that loss. And that might completely knock them out of tournament contention. As for these other two teams, Wake Forest, they're out of this category. They've dropped a couple games. They also don't really have much of any other means to boost their resume. They had two opportunities against Miami and NC State on the road. They lost both, and every other team on their schedule is either nowhere near tournament conversation or below 500. So Wake Forest just has nothing to work with anymore. And as for Virginia Tech, well, when you allow Boston College to get a season sweep of you, you have a problem. And they also lost to Georgia Tech, too. And they also just lost to Miami, which was a huge opportunity. They do have Duke coming up, but they're just they don't have a good conference record. Their overall record isn't great. It's the same as Syracuse, who, as I've also mentioned, is nowhere in this conversation. Oh, I haven't mentioned that, but they're not in this conversation. Uh, and there's 6-11 in the ACC, so I can't see how they stay in here either. So they drop out of the work to do category. Just not enough for them, and they continue to struggle. As for the Big 12, this remains exactly the same. Oklahoma State, their one surge has completely put them in the tournament conversation. I think they're still on the right side of the bubble, even though they did get massacred by TCU and West Virginia. Both teams absolutely hammered them. So they'll have huge games coming up against both Kansas State and Baylor at home. I think both of those are probably must wins for Oklahoma State. Because if you lose both of them, you're 16-14 and going into a road game against Texas Tech. You need both of those games at home. So huge games coming up for Oklahoma State. I still think, though, they're on the right side of the bubble. As for West Virginia, obviously, like I said, they got that blowout of Oklahoma State, which was a home game. Before that, they lost to this Texas Tech team who has made a late push here. So that's an interesting conundrum. The Texas Tech Raiders making some plays here to find their way into the conversation. They actually are right in the middle, starting to pretty much put themselves right in the middle of the conversation. But West Virginia's still on the right side of the bubble. And, well, about Texas Tech, they got a lot of home wins now. Now they're starting to get some road wins. And so they got huge opportunities here to end the season because they'll have home to TCU, which is probably a must win for them. A road game at Allen Fieldhouse against Kansas, that would be a huge win for them. And then they got home to Oklahoma State, which is another probably must win for Texas Tech. But after they got home wins against Iowa State, Kansas State, and Texas, and then they got these road wins against West Virginia and Oklahoma. Oklahoma's not good, but West Virginia's a very good team. Is a good team, so that's a really nice win on the road too at Morgantown. So Texas Tech is slowly putting themselves in the conversation. I would, you'll probably find this team on most next four outs or some stuff like that, or even first four out. So Texas Tech is definitely putting themselves back in the conversation and is not far out anymore. As for the Big East, well, the only team that comes out of this conference for work to do is still Seton Hall, and they certainly have work to do. They need a big win, and they need it desperately because they don't have one, and they keep losing the ones that they need to win. Now, they have not lost to a bad team, really, but they also haven't really beaten a good team. They actually do have some bad losses, but they have some good wins too. But that kind of cancels itself out. So they need some bigger. Bottom line, they need big wins. We'll just put it like that. Maryland has graduated to should be in, so they're no longer in this section. Yeah, we're moving on to the Big Ten. But Maryland no longer here. They moved on to should be in status, so they have graduated. And we have some new teams for this category. First will be Penn State. Penn State put themselves back into this category with a nice win at home against Illinois. I think they got a win against somebody else too. But Penn State's in a good position here. They still, need some help. They still need some wins. They're 7-9 in Big Ten. They beat Illinois at home. That's the only one. I thought there was another one. But they beat Illinois at home, which is a very good win for them. And they don't have really that many huge games left. Ohio State is one they cannot lose. But then they got Rutgers, Northwestern, and Maryland, all of which are big games for them. All of which, of course, also are tournament teams. So those are all big games for Penn State, but they cannot lose tonight. As I'm recording this Thursday, they have a game tonight against Ohio State. Since Ohio State is 11-16, you cannot lose to them, even if it is a road game. So a huge one there for Penn State. Now, I have two more additions for the Big Ten. Now, one's going to be a little more reasonable probably than the other one. But I am putting both of these teams on here. And the first one, yes. Look, I'm a Wolverines fan. That's let me be a homer, okay? Let me be a homer, all right? All right? You get all right? All right. So Wolverines, I am putting them here again in the work to do category. I know they're 15-12. I know they're only 9-7 in the Big Ten. I know they don't really have many big wins, but they have plenty of opportunities to boost their resume as they will play tonight at Rutgers. I know it's called Jersey Mike's Arena. Still call it the Rack. But they will play tonight at Rutgers. They also have one more home game against Wisconsin until they go back on the road, taking on the Illini in Champaign and then the Hoosiers in Bloomington. Now, they most likely will have to win all four of those, but if they were to win all four of those, they'd have a 19-12 record with a 13-7 Big Ten conference record. So, I'd have to think with that kind of a record overall and in the conference, I'd have to think the Wolverines will be in a pretty good spot. Of course, that's not good odds, but they have a chance. there's a chance for the Wolverines, and so I'm putting them in the category here. Their chances are, albeit slim, but they have a shot, and it's not entirely out of the conversation. Now, this one is much more of a stretch, and some of you are going to look at me like I'm nuts or something, but yeah, I'm actually doing the unthinkable, and I'm putting Nebraska in the work to do category. Um, this is the first time I've even think I put the Huskers in anything like this. But Nebraska, oddly, has actually been very good as of lately. The Cornhuskers, they have a early home win against Iowa, and they also have a non-conference win against Creighton. Now they've lost to Oklahoma and Memphis, which are both good teams. They also lost to St. John's, who's not the greatest team in the world. Well, like I said, they beat Creighton on the road. And then in the conference, they don't have any road wins, but at home, they've beaten. Oh, actually, they do have one road win now. I forgot about that one. But at home, they've beaten. What was it doing? But at home, they've beaten Iowa very early in the season, and then and then in this month of February, they have been on fire as they've beaten Penn State, Wisconsin, and Maryland all at home. Now you might say, well, no, those are really great teams, dude. Well, they also have a road win now against Rutgers, and they're 500 overall. Now, yes, 500 is not great, but they still have chances against Michigan State at home, and then they got Iowa on the road. They're playing Minnesota too. They should beat the Gophers. And so say they win all three of those games, Nebraska maybe wins a game or two, and Nebraska can win maybe like a game or two in the Big Ten tournament. I would say Nebraska has a very good chance of being a tournament team. And I know that's crazy, but it's not out of the picture. Now, again, that's a stretch, and that's probably more of a stretch than saying Michigan will make it. But Nebraska's got a chance. And it's small, but they do have a chance. Anyway, we move on to the Pac-12, and I'm dropping out Oregon. They keep losing games. They're now just above 500. They're like 15-13, I think. Their conference record is almost below 500. They just lost to both Washington and Washington State, who are not great teams. And so you can't keep taking losses and expect to be in the tournament conversation. So I'm dropping them out. They can't they keep losing and they can't afford losses. So Oregon's out, but two teams are in, and one of them is a bit of a surprise, and that's Utah. The Utah Utes have been pretty good. Have been absolutely decent in the Pac-12. They don't have a lot of great wins, but they have a home win against Arizona, who, of course, Arizona is a fantastic Pac-12 team. They're one of the locks of the Pac-12. Now, Utah has a huge game tonight where they'll be at home against UCLA, who, of course, is the number 4 team in the land. But Utah, their conference wins are they have some bad losses. They've lost to Sam Houston. Mississippi State's a good team. But then they beat, as I said, Arizona at home, which is absolutely enormous. They did lose at BYU, who's not good, but they lost to TCU, who is a good team. They came up just short in that one. That could have been a huge win for them. They also lost to Oregon. Well, they got swept by Oregon. They also lost to USC. They came up short in their first game against UCLA. Losing to Stanford's not good. And really losing to Arizona State's not very good. But they have opportunities here against UCLA and USC, both at home, which are both big games for them. So, and they're also 17-11 overall, and that Arizona win obviously will always stand out for Utah. So I think for the Utes, you get this home win against you. I think this is make or break for Utah. If they lose to UCLA, and USC too. Uh, if Utah ends up losing to UCLA, I think they're probably done. But if they beat UCLA, they're still very much in the race. And I didn't actually go over USC, but USC, they've had some injuries lately, which has kind of hurt them because they lost to Oregon and Oregon State. And Oregon State's really bad, but Oregon's not great either. They've kind of gotten worse over time. USC also has a bad loss against Washington State. But they do have a win against UCLA, which is keeping them alive. A win against Auburn is still keeping them alive. So they have good wins that will continue to keep them alive and keep them afloat, but they're right on that cut line, and the more wins that they can get, the better for USC. Now, this is also another bit of a stretch, but I'm putting Arizona State in this category. Now, for the Sun Devils, they have an interesting resume. Because early in the season, they took a loss at Texas Southern, which, yeah, Texas Southern is not good. So that's awful. But Arizona State did beat VCU, absolutely hammered the Wolverines, and that was a nice win for them. Did beat Creighton on the road, as I mentioned earlier, so uh, good win there for Arizona State, but then they lost by 37 to San Francisco, who's only gotten worse, so that doesn't look good for them. And then for Arizona State, they get into the conference and they got on a 4-game win streak, but then they went on a 4-game losing streak, taking L's to both UCLA and USC at home, and then losing both the Washington teams on the road. Also would lose at home to Oregon, and also lose at home to Colorado. So and their record overall is 19-9, and they're 10-7 in the conference. Uh, you would say this is not a tournament, or this is not a bubble team, but they have chances to end the season on the road against Arizona, UCLA, and USC. So because of that reason alone, I have Arizona State as a bubble team because they have a chance still. It's not good, but if they have plenty of chances to get a resume boost and get a huge win. Now they could lose all three and just be completely done for, but they have chances. They're there for them. We'll see if they take them. And that's the Pac-12. Now we go to the SEC, which also has its own changes. Texas A&M and Kentucky both have graduated to should be in status, so neither of them are in this category anymore. Arkansas and Mississippi State both remain here. ESPN has Arkansas as a should be in team. I don't know about should be in yet for Arkansas, but they have some nice wins. Mississippi State, they're pretty much right on the cut line, and they could use a big win. They got Texas A&M coming up, so that'll be a big game for Mississippi State. And then this one's another wild edition. um, you guys and I thought that Nebraska edition was kind of random and out of the blue. Well, I have another one for you guys, and this one's going to seem pretty crazy and pretty out there as well. I don't even know where they are on here. Oh, there they are. Uh, I know what you guys are already saying, but yeah, I know. I'm putting Vanderbilt in this category. Yeah, Vandy has oddly made a run. I keep looking at some of these teams and I'm like, they don't really have a chance, but they have a they have good wins over some good teams. They have some good conference wins as well. They Vandy actually has some decent non-conference wins. Now, in the non-conference, they did take tumble. They did lose to Memphis, but Memphis is a good team. Of course, you see them right here, and spoiler, they're staying right there. They did lose to Southern Miss, which is not good, but they lost to St. Mary's, who's another good team. VCU is an okay team, but then they got a win against the Pitt Panthers, who's a should be in team right now, so that's a nice win for them. They did lose to Grambling, though. That's not a good team, but then they beat NC State. Then you get to the SEC, and they actually do have a couple nice wins here in the conference. They have a good win at home against Arkansas. They have another good win at home against Tennessee. They beat Florida on the road. They also have another good win against Auburn, and they have a couple chances to finish the season here. Their overall record is 15-13, and they're 8-7 in the SEC. But Vandy has a chance. It's kind of like Nebraska. It's not good, but they have Florida, Kentucky, and Mississippi State to end the year. You win all three of those games, you get to 18-13. Your conference record would be uh, 11-7, which would be pretty good. And so I would think if you're Vandy, that's pretty solid. And I know it's a weird addition, but the Commodores are are sticking around for a little bit here in Bubble Watch. And as for the miscellaneous category, we do also have one more addition here. We also have all kinds of movement with New Mexico really struggling. They really fall behind here. But we have one addition here. Memphis, Boise State, all these teams, they will stay right here. Memphis and Boise State both actually, I'm pretty sure, have wins against Texas A&M. So that's big for both of them. Nevada and Utah State, they have some decent wins. New Mexico's got some too. ORU and Charleston, they continue to do pretty darn well in their small conferences, which continues to help them in their quest for a possible, which continues to help their quest in any possible don't know why I'm fumbling around here. In any possible at-large bid, but FAU is now going to have to join them. FAU took a loss in their conference recently, which knocked them out of tournament contention. Now, just for any normal conference, now for just any normal team and any normal conference, that really would mean nothing. Because you take one loss, oh, big deal. Everybody's pretty good. And one loss, you probably got plenty of other good wins against plenty of other good teams, and so one loss to one team really isn't going to matter. Well, for FAU, they don't really have a ton of good teams in their conference. They have really one, and that's North Texas. Now, North Texas is actually listed as a work-to-do team on ESPN's thing, but I mean, I look at North Texas's resume. They haven't beaten anybody, and they also have lost to a couple teams that really aren't special. So, North Texas for me, not in the category. And have FAU, they have solid wins though. I mean, they have a road win against Florida. They did lose on the road against Ole Miss, which is not good, but they beat Florida on the road, and that will certainly help them. Really, other than that, they have two losses in the conference, and that's it. So I think for FAU, they're still in a pretty good. They're still in a very good spot, but they can't afford a ton of losses because they're in a very small conference. So they have 4 games left against UTSA, UTEP, Rice, and LA Tech. They probably need to win all those. So FAU still incredible season nonetheless. It doesn't matter, how the season ends. I still think for people who are fans of Florida Atlantic, you got to be pretty happy with the way that the Owls have played this season. So that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's edition of Bubble Watch. Coming up soon is gonna be all kinds of stuff. Probably most of you, some of you have probably been waiting to see the videos for the NFL coming out, the different divisions for the different for the NFL, the different divisions I was going to do. I actually have not gotten to that yet. I probably will start that either today or they'll be done by Monday. Because after Monday, I'm gonna be going on vacation, and so I won't be around. So I'll make sure by Monday, or at least I'll try. I can't always make sure, but I'll try to make sure by Monday that all those videos are done, that all of them are scheduled, and they're all ready to be released by the time I leave, and so they'll be out there for all you guys. You know, whenever that is, however that is, they'll all be out there for you. So, as I said, though, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and until next time, adios, everyone.